I'd like to introduce Jane from England, who has multiple sclerosis. Welcome, Jane.
Hello.
Could you tell us when you first started to notice MS symptoms?
Probably a couple of years before I was diagnosed, so I'd say about 1995.
Mm-hmm.
My first symptoms were my face went numb, half my face went numb, and it took a couple of years after that with various sensory symptoms going back and forward to the doctors before I was eventually diagnosed in 1997 with MS by MRI scan.
Mm-hmm. And were you experiencing any other symptoms for the time you were diagnosed?
I think it was all sensory things, numbness and tingling sensations and burning sensations that would come and go, and couldn't be explained any other way.
Mm-hmm. And how did it affect you being diagnosed?
It was a huge shock, total shock, because I hadn't suspected it. I really thought it was something more on the lines of something orthopedic that was going on, trapped nerves or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then the fear of the unknown. When you're first diagnosed, you've no idea how your particular MS is going to progress. So it's very much the fear of what was to come.
Yes. How old were you at the time?
41.
Right. So, what path did your MS take before you found LDN?
First of all, I had typical relapsing, remitting MS, where I would have pretty bad spells, and including optic neuritis and really very limited ability to walk, and extreme fatigue when I was having a relapse. And then I would get better and be quite well, but over the years I didn't get as better. But I was not that long, maybe 3 years after I was diagnosed, I was put on beta serum, mm-hmm. and that really more or less stopped proper relapses. I haven't really had bad ones since. I've just slowly got worse all the time, and so I never have a good spell anymore. I'm just sort of more slowly going downhill.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find LDN?
On the MS website.
And could you get your own doctor to prescribe it for you?
No. First of all, shortly after I thought I was seeing my consultant, and I mentioned that I was thinking of trying it to him, and he said that he thought it was a good idea for me to try it, but I had to appreciate he couldn't prescribe it for me, and explained why, but I already knew why. And but he said he would write a letter to my doctor saying that he thought it was a good idea for me to try it. I then asked her, because I knew this was the route to go down. I think I'd either spoken to yourself or to someone from the LDN Research Trust telling me about the ENED route. So my GP did agree. She had never heard of LDN being used for MS. She'd heard of Naltrexone, but not LDN. And she agreed to write a letter saying that I suffered from MS. And I faxed that off to ENED, and I've gone down the ENED and Dixon's route, which has worked absolutely fine.
And how long have you been on it now?
About 14 months, I think.
Did you notice any introductory side effects when you started?
It was just vivid dreams. That was the only thing, really. I mean, extremely vivid dreams, but I was sleeping as well. Sleeping well, so at least, I was still getting good sleep. Yeah. And that was the only side effect I'd say I've had at all.
And how long would you say it took before it started to work?
It was dramatic. It was by the second night. In the evenings when I sit down to relax, my legs start sort of twitching and spasming and feeling uncomfortable. And I just sat down and thought, what's happening? There's no pains in my legs. They're just normal legs. I sat and waited for something to happen and nothing happened. and I hadn't expected that to the LDN to help that. I was really focusing on, it's going to help with my bladder, because I'd read so much about people saying they've had great help with their bladders once they were on LDN. So I don't think I'd imagined it, because I wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm. And what other symptoms has it helped with now?
I believe it's helped a little bit with my bladder, and I see a continence nurse, and she quite regularly, and she measures what the retention of fluid in my bladder after I've been to the loo. And while I said I don't think it's helped my bladder very much, when she measured it, she was really surprised, because my bladder was empty.
Wow.
So she could see that it had helped, although I still know I have a weak bladder, and I need to go very quickly. But I've also noticed I feel a little bit stronger in general, a little bit more stamina, and balance a little bit better.
So if you had to rate your quality of life before LDN on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what would you say it was?
Before taking LDN, I think it was on a decline, and I'd probably say about, because I'm a positive person, I'll say 7.
Okay.
And after LDN, 8, at least 8.
Right.
So it's made some significant, it's made some help, not huge, but it certainly has helped. And I wouldn't like to be without it. No, I'd say the gap is bigger, because I do have a lot more thinking about it, a lot more peace in bed at night, whereas without LDN, it would take me quite a long time to settle down because of the pains in my legs, whereas I still get them, but it's very minimal. So yes, there's a bigger gap than that, than I've just said.
Okay. I've put myself off now. It's going to be edited anyway.
Yeah.
Simon laughs when I lose my track of thought. Of something I was going to completely gone. Okay. So what would you say to other people who are contemplating trying LDN?
I'd say definitely give it a go. You've nothing to lose. It's not for everybody, but it certainly helped me considerably.
Well, it seems as though you're now having a better quality of life and feeling more like yourself, by the sounds of it.
Yes, and I think the other thing is, which I haven't mentioned, I was feeling that I was declining all the time, whereas now I don't feel as though I'm declining at all.
This bit can be taken out as well, because what I was going to ask you was, do you think your progression has slowed up?
Definitely.
You said you were on a decline before. Would you say it's stabilised?
Yes, I would. I'd say I now feel I'm no worse than I was when I started taking LDN, whereas before taking LDN, I felt as I was constantly on a decline.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? That is really good.
Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled, to be honest, and can't thank you enough for doing what you do.
My pleasure. Well, thank you very much, Jane, for sharing